What if you're not in control of what you want? What if your desires happen to you like a storm or a disease? Schopenhauer once said, "A man can do what he wills, but he cannot will what he wills." This quote delves into the heart of free will and determinism. What Schopenhauer means by a man can do what he wills is that humans act according to their desires and intentions. For example, you will to raise your hand, generally you can do it. Your actions in this sense are a direct consequence of your volitions and wishes. In other words, you are free to choose how to act. However, it is the second part of the quote that concerns us. The second part says, "But he cannot will what he wills," suggests a deeper and more philosophical point. It says that you might be able to follow your desires, but you don't choose those desires. They arise from within you, from something deeper and unconscious. Through this quote, Schopenhauer argued that our desires are shaped by our genetic predispositions, our character, our past experiences, and more other influences. In other words, we don't consciously choose to want what we want. It arises from a complex interplay of factors that are beyond our conscious control. Another key argument is the illusion of choice. Schopenhauer argued that while we might choose between different courses of action, the underlying will that drives us to even engage in that deliberation is not something we can choose. The will is, according to Schopenhauer, the fundamental driving force of our being. It is a blind, irrational, and ceaseless driving force that underlies all of reality, including human consciousness. Schopenhauer added, "We cannot create this will, it is inherent to our earthly existence." The meaning of all this is that we have a freedom of action. We can choose to act or not to act based on what we desire, but we lack the freedom of the will, which means that the desire itself is determined by forces beyond our conscious control. Modern day studies also suggest the same thing. Neuroscience studies reveal that decisions are made before we are even aware of them. Take for example a river. The water flows freely within its banks, which is the freedom of action, but the course of the river itself, which represents the underlying will, is determined by the landscape and the other forces of nature, not by water's individual choice.